INFJs are quiet, calm, and often keep to themselves. At first glance, they don't seem like the type to surprise anyone. But spend some time around an INFJ, and you'll start to notice something different. They understand things without needing full explanations. They sense things before others even see them. And they often speak in ways that cut straight to the truth. This quiet strength is part of what makes their intelligence feel terrifying. It's not terrifying in a bad way. It's not loud or forceful, but it is powerful. Powerful enough to make people uncomfortable if they're not ready for it. INFJs don't flaunt their intelligence. They don't need to. Instead, it shows up in the way they think, feel, and act. It's in how they observe people, how they connect ideas, and how they calmly stand firm in what they believe. INFJs use their mind in layers. On the surface, they seem warm and easygoing. But underneath, their brain is always working. They're scanning, processing, analyzing. And what they come up with is often deep, complex, and hard to argue with. This kind of intelligence makes people feel exposed, especially if they're trying to hide something. People don't always understand what's going on when they talk to an INFJ. They might feel seen in a way they're not used to. They might feel like the INFJ is reading their emotions without being told. Or they might feel like the INFJ is 2 steps ahead in a conversation. That kind of experience is hard to ignore, and sometimes hard to handle. In this video, we'll look at 6 reasons why the INFJ's intelligence can feel overwhelming to others. These traits aren't loud, they aren't pushy, but they run deep, and they change the way people experience anyone who has this rare personality type. Reason 1. Deep intuitive insight. INFJs have something most people don't. Deep intuition. It's more than a gut feeling. It's a quiet, steady knowing that runs in the background of everything they do. They pick up patterns, emotional signals, and underlying truths without needing all the details. This makes them seem like they just know things, and that can be unsettling to the people around them. Their minds are constantly gathering information, even when they're not trying. A glance, a phrase, a reaction, these small things form a bigger picture for the INFJ. While others are reacting to what's right in front of them, the INFJ is already thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. They don't just react, they anticipate. This intuition doesn't come with a loud explanation. INFJs can rarely say how they know something, but more often than not, they're right. This can confuse or even threaten people who like to rely on logic and proof. For the INFJ, the proof comes later, after the prediction already came true. That's what makes their intelligence feel intimidating. You can lie to them, but they'll sense it. You can smile and pretend everything is fine, but they'll feel the sadness behind your words. You can keep your plans hidden, but they'll already be watching for what comes next. INFJs often stay quiet about what they see, but when they do speak up, it usually surprises people. They say things that cut straight to the core of the issue. They point out patterns no one else noticed, and they suggest outcomes that haven't even started, but end up happening. This ability isn't something they turn off, it's how their brain works. Their dominant function, introverted intuition, guides everything. It collects meaning from patterns and forms connections that lead to insight. And this insight feels deep, fast, and strangely accurate to anyone who experiences it. It also gives the INFJ an edge. They can navigate conflict with awareness. They can help others see themselves more clearly. And they can make life decisions based on long-term thinking, not just what feels right in the moment. This makes them powerful in subtle ways. People often say things like, "I don't know how you knew that," or "That's exactly what I was thinking." And the INFJ just smiles, because they've been watching, listening, and processing all along. It's this mix of mystery and precision that makes their intelligence feel terrifying, not because it's cold, but because it's real. It sees what's hidden, and it does it without effort. Reason 2. Emotional intelligence. INFJs aren't just smart with ideas, they're smart with emotions. They can walk into a room and feel the emotional tone right away. They know when someone's upset, even if that person says they're fine. They can sense when someone's lying, when someone's holding back, or when someone is afraid. This emotional awareness is part of what makes them so effective and so intimidating. Most people wear emotional masks. They smile when they're sad, act confident when they're scared, or pretend to agree when they don't. INFJs see through that. They don't just hear words, they feel the energy behind them. And when someone feels truly seen in that way, it can be uncomfortable, especially if they're trying to hide. INFJs don't use this power to manipulate. They use it to understand. But still, it gives them an advantage. In arguments, they stay calm. In tense moments, they read the room. And in relationships, they build emotional trust faster than most. They also know how to respond to emotions. They don't just spot sadness, they offer the right kind of comfort. They don't just notice anger, they respond with calm strength. And when someone is unsure or nervous, the INFJ knows how to make them feel safe. This kind of emotional intelligence makes people trust them, but also fear them a little. Not because INFJs are mean, but because they see too much. They notice things before they're said. And they remember how you felt, not just what you said. It also makes INFJs excellent judges of character. They don't need years to figure someone out. A few interactions, a few moments of silence, and they usually know who they're dealing with. That kind of fast emotional reading power can feel overwhelming, especially to those who don't like being figured out. But INFJs don't brag about this. They often keep it to themselves, unless it's needed. And that quiet confidence makes it even more powerful. They don't need to show they know, they just know. Reason 3. Strategic thinking. INFJs may be quiet, but their mind is always moving. They don't just think about what's happening, they think about what could happen. They plan ahead, often without even trying. And their ability to map out long-term outcomes, make quiet observations, and build strategies in their head is one of the most overlooked parts of their intelligence. People often mistake INFJs for being just emotional or idealistic, but the truth is they're highly strategic. They think in layers. When most people focus on the next step, the INFJ is already looking 5 moves ahead. And they do this without needing to control others. It just comes naturally to them. This shows up in many areas of their life. In conversations, they know what direction things are going before others do. In conflict, they stay calm because they already understand the deeper pattern. In planning, they don't rush. They take time to understand what will work in the long run. They also notice how people operate. They learn what motivates others, how they make decisions, and where they tend to fall short. INFJs may not speak on it, but they're always observing. And when it's time to act, they do so with clarity and purpose, not reaction. This can be intimidating to people who act impulsively. While others jump into situations, INFJs wait, watch, and then move when the moment is right. Their ability to delay action for maximum effect makes them feel calculated, but not in a cold way. They're simply focused on doing what works, not what's loud. It's also why INFJs often see right through manipulation or power plays. They understand how people try to influence others, and they're not easily fooled. Even when they go along with something, they're doing so with full awareness. They're playing the long game. Their strategies aren't built on ego, they're built on insight. INFJs don't need to win arguments. They don't need to dominate. They just quietly shape outcomes by seeing what others don't see. And that's why their intelligence feels so powerful. They don't make noise. They make moves. And by the time people realize what the INFJ was doing, it's already done. Reason 4. Analytical depth. INFJs don't take things at face value. They analyze everything: conversations, behavior, choices, emotions. They're not just curious. They need to understand. It's how they make sense of the world. And once they start digging, they go deep. This kind of analysis isn't obvious. INFJs don't always ask a lot of questions. But in their mind, they're breaking down everything. Why did someone say that? What's the pattern in their behavior? What emotion is driving this decision? They do this almost automatically. And over time, their mental picture becomes incredibly accurate. People often feel like INFJs know more than they should. That's because they've been paying attention. They have connected pieces that others missed. They have picked up details that didn't seem important, but now paint a full picture. This makes INFJs incredible at seeing what's underneath. They can detect lies. They can spot manipulation. And they can understand motives that others haven't even admitted to themselves yet. Being on the receiving end of this can feel exposing. Not because the INFJ is cruel, but because they see the truth. If you're hiding something, they'll sense it. If you're pretending, they'll catch it. If you're not being honest with yourself, they'll pick up on that too. They also analyze ideas and systems. They like to know how things work, emotionally, socially, or logically. They break things down into parts, study the pieces, and then see how they all fit together. This makes them natural problem solvers. They see root causes, not just symptoms, and they're often the ones who quietly come up with the real solution after others have been stuck for hours. But they don't always share their insights right away. They wait until it's needed, or until they know it will be received. That control over when to speak adds to their mystery. You never know how much they've figured out until they decide to reveal it. And when they do speak, it's often startling, because their analysis goes right to the heart of the issue, with no fluff. They say the thing no one else saw, but once it's said, everyone realizes it was true. That ability to mentally dissect people and problems makes their intelligence feel almost surgical. It's precise, it's deep, and it can shake people, especially those who aren't used to being seen so clearly. Reason 5. Independent judgment. INFJs don't follow the crowd. They make their decisions based on what feels right to them, not what's popular or easy. They trust their inner compass more than outside voices. This strong independence makes them hard to influence, and that can be intimidating. They don't need approval. They don't look for validation. And they're not easily swayed by trends or group pressure. When they believe in something, they stand by it, even if they're standing alone. This inner strength is quiet but firm. Others may try to talk them out of their views, but INFJs won't budge unless they see a real reason. They listen, they reflect, but they don't fold. Their values are deeply thought out, and they don't change them lightly. This can frustrate people who are used to winning others over with charm or force. INFJs don't react to ego. They react to truth. If something doesn't align with their values, they'll walk away without drama, and they won't be guilt-tripped into staying. They also don't care about surface-level wins. They'd rather do what's meaningful than what's easy. This makes them harder to predict and harder to control. In debates, they won't argue just to argue, but they also won't back down if they believe something's important. They speak with calm, steady conviction, and often that quiet conviction is more powerful than shouting. This independence can make INFJs feel intimidating without trying. They don't push their beliefs on others, but they also won't let others push theirs. And that unshakable mindset creates a strong presence. People may not always agree with the INFJ, but they'll remember how firmly they stood. And that kind of grounded thinking leaves a lasting impact. Reason 6. Visionary thinking. NFJs don't just think about what's happening now. They think about what could be. They have a unique way of seeing beyond the moment. While many people get stuck in the present or lost in the past, INFJs often have their eyes on the future. This ability to think big, to imagine change, and to build long-term ideas in their mind is part of what makes their intelligence so powerful, and sometimes a little scary. They don't just see what is, they see what's possible. They imagine better systems, better lives, better relationships, better versions of people. And they don't do it in a vague way. They can explain the steps. They can feel the emotional impact. They can even predict how others will react. This makes their vision clear and full of meaning. This way of thinking makes people feel inspired, but it can also make people uncomfortable. When INFJs speak about what's coming or what needs to happen, they often sound certain. And that certainty makes others nervous, especially people who are afraid of change. Visionaries make people rethink their comfort zones. INFJs challenge others to grow, even without trying. And because they're so often right, people are forced to face things they'd rather avoid. That's where the fear comes in. It's not fear of the INFJ themselves. It's fear of what their insight reveals. In leadership, INFJs are often the ones who push for quiet but radical change. In friendships, they're the ones asking the deep questions that shift how someone sees themselves. In relationships, they bring out the bigger picture. They're not content with going in circles. They want growth, movement, meaning. Their visionary thinking is rooted in their deep values. They want the world to improve. They want people to evolve. And they believe that real change is possible, even if others don't see it yet. That hope, paired with deep insight, makes them powerful in ways most people don't expect. That's why their intelligence feels different. It's not just knowledge. It's not just logic. It's vision. And vision is a kind of intelligence that both awakens and unsettles people. INFJs don't look intimidating at first glance. They're calm, quiet, and often prefer to stay in the background. But once you get to know them, you start to realize just how deep their mind goes. They don't just think, they feel, plan, sense, and understand at a level that surprises people. Their intelligence isn't loud. It doesn't brag. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just shows up in moments of insight, in calm decisions, in perfect timing. They can break down a problem, read a person, and predict an outcome without making it a big deal. And that subtle power is what makes them so unforgettable. They see patterns, they feel emotions, they plan quietly, and they hold firm to their beliefs, even when it's hard. That mix of emotional intelligence, intuitive power, and long-term vision gives them a kind of inner strength that can't be shaken. And that's what people feel when they say that INFJ is scary smart. But here's the truth. INFJs don't use their intelligence to hurt. They use it to help, to guide, to understand. Their insight can be intense, yes, but it comes from a place of care. They want truth, they want meaning, and they want growth, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. So if you ever meet an INFJ and feel like they see right through you, it's because they probably do. But they're not judging you. They're hoping to understand you. And maybe, just maybe, help you understand yourself too.